The cry cut through the jungle before the sun had fully risen. It was not the low rumble of thunder, nor the shriek of a hunting bird, but the trembling call of something small and uncertain. The sound wavered, rose, and fell, then disappeared into the folds of the forest. For an instant, the guerrilla troop froze. Their leader, a towering silverback with a scar carved across his brow, turned his head toward the clearing. His ears twitched, his dark eyes narrowing. That sound did not belong to the dawn. Moments earlier, the jungle had been wrapped in calm. Mist drifted in ghostly ribbons across the undergrowth, curling around ferns and the roots of ancient trees. The air smelled of damp earth, rich with the scent of rain from the night before. Insects hummed lazily, wings glistening as the first rays of sunlight pierced through the canopy. The troop had moved slowly through this waking world, the silverback leading with his steady rhythm. A step, a pause, a glance back to gather his family. Youngsters clung to their mothers, wide-eyed and playful, while juveniles tumbled in the leaf litter, their laughter like calls echoing softly. For the guerrillas, the day had begun as it always did, in patience and peace. But that cry did not belong to the jungle's edge. Where the trees gave way to a narrow clearing of grass and dust, a baby rhino stood alone. Its legs were still unsteady, its skin wrinkled and soft around its belly. A stub of a horn pushed through its nose, more a promise of defense than a weapon. The calf's eyes were wide, uncertain, its ears swiveling with every rustle. It had lost its mother in the night, perhaps separated by a sudden noise or frightened rush. Now, the calf's voice called into the silence, hoping for an answer that did not come. The silverback tilted his head, listening. He did not move forward at once. He knew the rules of the wild. Sounds of weakness carried farther than strength, and weakness never went unheard. The air itself felt wrong. Beneath the sweet scent of wet leaves lay another trace, sharp and musky, the lingering odor of predators. It was faint, but enough to stiffen the great ape's muscles. He let out a soft grunt, signaling the troop to halt. Mothers pulled their young closer, and the forest stilled. The rhino calf took a shaky step forward, its hooves pressing into soft earth. It called again, a high, almost pleading squeal, then dropped its head as if the sound had cost too much strength. Around it, the clearing seemed empty, yet the emptiness carried weight. The grass stood tall, motionless despite the morning breeze. Birds that had been chattering moments earlier had grown quiet, wings folded, eyes watching from above. The jungle listened as one. Waiting, the guerrilla leader shifted, his scar catching a glint of sunlight. He could walk away. Nature did not ask him to care for another's young. His duty was to his troop, to the mothers and children who followed his every step. Yet his gaze did not leave the calf. Something in its voice, fragile and raw, pierced deeper than instinct. He beat his chest once, low and deliberate, not in anger but in warning to whatever lay hidden beyond the grass. The calf, unaware, wandered farther into the clearing. Its nose brushed the ground, searching for a familiar scent, a trace of the mother who should have been there. Each step seemed to stretch the silence tighter. Each call lingered longer in the air, carried to ears that listened with hunger. Still, no mother appeared. Only the soft shuffle of the calf's hooves and the slow, rhythmic breath of the silverback filled the morning. The troop waited. Young gorillas peered from behind their mother's arms, their small faces reflecting the same unease that stirred in their leader. They did not understand the rhino's cry, but they felt the shift in the air. It was the feeling that came before storms, before landslides, before death itself. The calf stumbled, then regained its footing. Dust rose around its small frame, glowing gold in the light that broke through the trees. For a heartbeat, it looked almost peaceful, bathed in the warmth of dawn. The silverback's nostrils flared, taking in the scent of the morning, the wet earth, the musk of grass, and the faint thread of danger woven through it all. His eyes softened as they lingered on the calf. Though he did not move, something within him had already shifted. The jungle, however, remained unforgiving. A rustle stirred at the far edge of the clearing, barely more than the breath of grass against grass. To the calf, it was nothing. To the silverback, it was enough. He straightened to his full height, muscles tense, lips pulling back to reveal the white flash of teeth. The troop behind him shuffled nervously, their calm replaced with watchful fear. The sound stopped, swallowed by silence once more. The baby rhino lifted its head, ears flicking, but still unaware of the danger. It gave another soft squeak, this time weaker, and began to move in circles, confused and lost. The silverback lowered his head slightly, eyes locked on the grass, listening for what the calf could not hear. The forest seemed to tighten around them both. The helpless child of the plains and the wary guardian of the jungle. Minutes stretched like hours. The calf grew tired, settling on its knees in the dust, its breathing fast and shallow. Above, the sun climbed higher, burning away the mist and painting the clearing with harsh light. Shadows shortened, and the world felt exposed, vulnerable. Still, the silverback did not move forward, though his chest rose and fell with steady power. He knew the moment would come when the hidden revealed itself. He knew, too, that weakness could not last long in the wild, and so the jungle held its breath. The silverback, scarred and solemn, stood rooted in silence, his gaze fixed on the fragile life just beyond his reach. The baby rhino shifted in the dust, eyes heavy, body small against the vastness of the clearing. Around them, unseen, the wilderness whispered with both promise and threat. For now, predator and prey remained in shadow, waiting. The scene ended not with violence, but with stillness. The calf, exhausted, laid its head briefly on the ground, its small body framed by the glow of morning light. The silverback did not look away. His shadow stretched long across the forest floor, bridging the space between them. It was a picture of the wild at its most fragile. Innocence alone, strength watching, danger waiting. In that moment, the jungle spoke its oldest truth. Peace is never without risk, and every calm is only the breath before the storm. Chapter 2. The breaking point. The jungle snapped awake in an instant. A cry split the silence. High, desperate, and sharp. The baby rhino's trembling call rose above the trees, and it was met by a sound far darker. Laughter, cruel and broken, the eerie cackle of hyenas. From the shadows of the undergrowth, yellow eyes gleamed, one pair after another, until the gloom seemed alive with hunger. The stillness of dawn was gone. The air turned electric, pulsing with fear. The calf froze, its thin legs shaking, ears twitching wildly at the sound. It was too small to understand what stalked it, but instinct whispered danger. A hot wind carried the musk of predators across the clearing. The calf snorted, stumbled a step backward, and squealed again for its mother, but no answer came. Only the steady padding of paws in the grass. Growing closer, the hyenas slunk into the open. Their ragged coats glistened with dew, their shoulders hunched, jaws slightly parted to reveal stained fangs. One let out a low growl, and the others answered with eager chatter. They spread into a loose circle, cutting off every escape path. Dust lifted beneath their paws, curling into the morning light. The baby rhino lowered its head in a clumsy attempt at defense. Its tiny horn, barely formed, caught the sunlight but held no true power. The calf stamped, trying to look fierce, but its squeaks of fear betrayed its act. The hyenas closed in, grins wide, cruel patience in their movements. Then, from the treeline, the earth itself seemed to move. The thunderous roar exploded through the clearing, deeper and louder than any sound the calf had ever heard. Leaves shook, birds scattered in a rush of wings. The hyenas froze, their ears flicking back, eyes narrowing. Out of the shadows stepped the silverback. His chest gleamed with sweat and mist, his broad shoulders blotting out the morning light. Every step was deliberate, heavy, a warning drumbeat that made the soil tremble. The gorilla beat his chest with both fists, a cannon of sound that rolled through the forest. His roar shook the air, louder than thunder, filled with fury and command. For a heartbeat, even the hyenas hesitated. Then chaos erupted. The hyenas lunged, snapping and snarling, hoping to scatter him, to test if his power was bluff. Dust and saliva flew as one darted forward, teeth aimed at the calf's soft flank. In a blur, the gorilla swung. His massive arm cut through the air with terrifying force, striking the hyena across the shoulder. The predator yelped and rolled in the dirt, stunned. The troop leader roared again, fists pounding the earth so hard it cracked beneath him. The baby rhino collapsed to the ground in terror, curling against itself, squealing helplessly. Around them, the clearing turned into a storm of sound. Hyenas yipping, jaws clashing, the gorilla's bellows echoing like war drums. The pack circled tighter. One leapt onto the gorilla's back, teeth snapping at his thick fur. He twisted with shocking speed, grabbing the attacker by the scruff and hurling it across the clearing. It hit the ground hard, whining, but more rushed in to replace it. The gorilla swung his immense arms like clubs, striking, shoving, pushing back the tide. But the hyenas were relentless. They darted at his legs, testing his balance, snapping at the calf whenever his attention wavered. Their laughter rose, high-pitched and cruel, blending with the calf's cries into a chorus of fear. The air thickened with dust, every breath hot and raw. The silverback's muscles rippled as he fought, his dark eyes burning with fury. He was not fighting for himself. His every move angled back toward the calf, shielding it, keeping the predators at bay. This was not his young, not his kind, but something ancient and unspoken moved him. Instinct, duty, protection. The battle dragged into a brutal rhythm. Charge, clash, retreat. The gorilla slammed the ground, forcing the pack to scatter. He lunged, seizing one by the hind leg, hurling it aside. But with each victory came another rush. The hyenas, hungry and cunning, pressed harder, their snarls sharper, their movements quicker. They knew the calf was weak, and they would not leave without blood. One hyena slipped through, jaws snapping inches from the baby's belly. The calf squealed in terror, trying to rise, legs sliding in the dirt. The silverback whirled, rage exploding in a roar that tore through the clearing. He lunged with all his weight, barreling into the predator, his fists raining blows that drove it back, howling into the shadows. For a moment, silence fell. The hyenas regrouped, panting, their yellow eyes flickering with doubt. The silverback stood tall, chest heaving, arms spread wide to block the trembling calf. His breath was ragged, but his stance was unbroken. He pounded the earth once more, daring them. The pack hesitated. Their hunger battled with fear. They circled slower now, uncertain, the balance of the fight hanging in the air. The jungle itself seemed to wait, holding its breath. Then, a shift. A growl deeper than the rest, low and commanding, rumbled from the shadows. A larger hyena, scarred and battle-worn, stepped forward. Its head was broad, its teeth worn sharp with age. The pack leader. With a snap of its jaws, it rallied the others. The circle tightened once more, the silverback's eyes locked on the leader. Dust clung to his fur, blood beaded where teeth had grazed his skin, but he did not waver. The calf pressed against his leg, tiny body trembling, trusting the giant who stood above it. Time slowed. Every sound sharpened. The buzz of flies in the heat, the drip of saliva from the hyena's jaws, the rasp of the gorilla's breath. This was the breaking point. Predator and protector stood locked in a battle older than memory itself. Strength against hunger, courage against cruelty. The leader lunged. The gorilla roared, fists rising. Dust rose like smoke. The baby cried out, and the jungle exploded again. The clearing fell back into silence after the clash, broken only by ragged breathing and the shifting of paws in the dust. The outcome was not yet certain, but in that storm of rage and desperation, one truth was clear. The gorilla had made his choice. He would not step aside. He would fight for the helpless calf, even if it meant facing the wild's full cruelty alone. The baby lay trembling, its small horn pressed against the gorilla's leg. The jungle seemed to lean in, watching, waiting. For now, the calf was still alive, and the forest held its breath. Chapter 3: Rescue. Survival, or revelation. The clearing was torn apart, littered with paw prints and scattered clumps of fur. The air still trembled from the clash, heavy with dust and the bitter scent of fear. The hyenas lingered on the edge of the shadows, their yellow eyes glowing with hunger and frustration. But they had tasted the fury of the silverback, and his strength had shaken their courage. One last roar split the morning. The gorilla rose onto his hind legs, towering over the calf and the scattered pack, his chest a wall of muscle and rage. He pounded his fists against his ribs in a thunderous drumbeat that echoed through the trees. It was a warning, a command, a final vow. The hyena leader snarled, lips curling back to reveal stained fangs. For a breath, It seemed ready to challenge again. But then the silverback surged forward with a burst of power, swinging a broken branch like a weapon. The branch cracked against the earth, sending dust into the air. The pack leader yelped and backed away, the others following. Their laughter turned hollow, fading as they slunk into the forest shadows. Silence fell. The only sound left was the rasp of the gorilla's breathing and the soft, trembling squeaks of the baby rhino. The calf lay crumpled in the dirt, its sides heaving, its legs too weak to rise. Every muscle in its body shivered with exhaustion and terror. It was alive, but only just. The gorilla lowered his arms. His chest rose and fell in heavy waves, his fur damp with sweat, streaked with dust and specks of blood. He stood for a long moment, scanning the forest for any sign of the predator's return. Only the buzzing of insects and the distant cry of birds filled the air. Slowly, the silverback's body eased from tension into stillness. He turned toward the calf. The little rhino's wide, watery eyes blinked up at him, confused and afraid. It gave a soft cry, weaker than before, and shifted as though trying to crawl closer. The gorilla tilted his head, his deep brown eyes narrowing, not in anger, but in thought. He stepped forward with surprising care, each movement slower than the fight that had just torn the clearing apart. The calf pressed its face into the dust and whimpered. But then the gorilla lowered himself onto his knuckles, shrinking his massive form. His shadow fell across the calf, not as a threat, but as a shelter. The jungle's great warrior became something else, something almost gentle. The baby rhino stretched its neck and leaned into him, its small horn pressing softly against the gorilla's fur. A sound, half sigh and half whimper, escaped its throat. The silverback did not move away. Instead, he shifted just enough so the calf rested against his side. His great arm hung loosely, a barrier of warmth and safety. For a long time, neither of them moved. Dust floated slowly through shafts of sunlight. The forest, which had held its breath through the battle, now exhaled in soft wind and birdsong. At the edge of the clearing, the gorilla's troop had gathered. Females with infants clinging to their bellies, young males watching wide-eyed, all stood in stillness. They did not rush forward or call out. They only watched their leader, as if sensing that something sacred was unfolding. The baby rhino trembled less now, its small body pressed close against the giant's steady warmth. Its breath slowed, no longer sharp gasps of fear, but the fragile rhythm of survival. Every once in a while, it gave a soft cry, and each time, the gorilla stayed unmoving, letting the sound fade against his side. The moment stretched into something beyond survival. It was a quiet truth, written not in words, but in stillness. The calf had no mother to shield it. The gorilla had no reason to care for a creature not his own. Yet in that fragile space, compassion crossed the divide of species. That a single beam of light broke through the canopy and struck the clearing. Dust shimmered in its glow, drifting around the unlikely pair. The silverback lifted his face toward the light, his chest rising with a deep breath, then lowered his gaze once more to the trembling calf. His eyes softened, and for the first time since the fight began, his body rested. The troop began to move again, slow and quiet. A female approached with her infant clinging tight to her fur. She stopped a few steps away, tilting her head, watching the calf with curiosity but no aggression. The gorilla glanced at her, then back at the rhino, his meaning clear. This little one was under his protection. One challenged him. The jungle around them came alive again. Birds swooped overhead, filling the silence with layered calls. A troop of monkeys passed high in the branches, chattering nervously about the echoes of the fight. Even the wind shifted, brushing through the trees as though carrying the tension away. The baby rhino, exhausted, finally lay its head down on the earth. Its body curled slightly, but its side pressed against the gorilla's massive frame. Its breathing slowed into sleep. The silverback remained seated, unmoving, his gaze sweeping the trees. His chest rose and fell like the tide, calm now, steady. He was a wall of muscle, a fortress of strength, but in that moment, he was also a sheltered last. The forest seemed to settle fully. The dust fell, the lights softened, and the predators had vanished into the distance. The silverback reached one great hand to the ground, fingers curling into the soil. He stayed rooted, as though anchoring himself to the calf beside him. The scene was not one of triumph, nor of victory. It was something deeper. The fight had ended not just in survival, but in revelation. That in the heart of the wild, where life and death brushed against each other with every breath, compassion still found a place. The calf shifted in its sleep, pressing closer to the gorilla's side. The giant did not move. He only sat in the clearing, silent and strong, with the helpless young at his side. And as sunlight poured through the canopy, the jungle whispered its truth. Survival is not only strength, but love where no one expects it.